Hola, buenos días, bienvenidos a mi clase de español de hoy otra vez. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Yo estoy muy bien. ¿Y tú? ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Ahora, una actividad de repaso. Una actividad de repaso. Ahora, now. Ahora is now. Repaso, we know the verb, the action word, don't we? Repasar, which means to repass or to review or to revise something. Repasar, to revise. It's the action, the verb. Here we've got the noun, repaso. So repaso, if repasar is to revise, you might be able to guess that the noun repaso is revision. So this is una actividad de repaso, an activity of de repaso, of revision. And at this stage, I just want to draw your attention to this ending on the word actividad, the dad ending. We looked at, and we've looked at quite a bit, the idea of nouns being masculine or feminine. And it's important, if you can, to know whether a noun is masculine or feminine for a variety of reasons. And I'm going to teach you today a very simple rule or set of rules that, if you can remember them, will quickly allow you to identify whether a word is masculine or feminine, regardless of whether you've seen it before. Think of our two words for grandfather and grandmother: abuelo, abuela. And if you remember the O on the end of abuelo, the O is a classic masculine ending. That letter tells you something is masculine. Abuela, grandmother, the A is a classic feminine ending. Okay, so that's one feminine ending, if you like, the A. Another one is dad, D-A-D. Words that end with dad are pretty much always feminine. So we can see immediately, without even knowing anything about this word, actividad, it's feminine. It's got a dad ending. For that reason, if you want to say an activity, it is not un, just un, it's una actividad of revision de repaso. So that's the second feminine classic ending for feminine nouns. Dad. A dad. And the other thing to mention at this stage is that if you think of the dad ending on a word in Spanish, so when you see these type of words, if you think of that as a ty in English and just replace the dad with a ty, you very often get the word. Actividad becomes activity, which is exactly what it means. Okay, very quick actividad de repaso. Muy rápido, very rapid, muy rápido. You've got four, by now, very familiar adjectives. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. 1, 2, 3, 4. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. And the words are delgado, simpático, alto, guapo. First little task, can you just find the opuesto? What's the opposite word to these four adjectives? And again, it's worth just highlighting the UE combination here in the word opuestos. I've told you two things about UE words in Spanish. First of all, pronunciation-wise, that UE combination, think of it as W-A-Y, way, opuestos, okay? Secondly, often, if you replace that UE with an O, it gives you a clue as to the meaning in English. So you would have opostos in this case, and actually opuestos is opposites. El opuesto, the opposite. Aposto, okay? Now, we know these well, so it shouldn't be too difficult to task. Delgado, what is the opposite word to that? Choose from the four options here. Additional little challenge to give you something new, though, is looking at these two little phrases at the bottom here, ni gordo ni delgado, ni alto ni bajo. Can you work out or guess the meaning of those two phrases? Ni gordo ni delgado, ni alto ni bajo. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Put me on pause, do those two little activities, come back and we will discuss the corrections on that slide. Pause me, come back. Bueno, vamos a corregir. We're going to correct. Vamos a corregir. So, uno, delgado. Number one, slim. What goes with that? Gordo, fat. Delgado, gordo. Number two, dos. Número dos. Number two, simpático, antipático. Nice or kind, mean or nasty. Número tres. Number three, número tres. Alto, bajo. Tall, short. Tall, short. And they also have the meaning of high and low as well. So alto can mean high and bajo can mean low. The example I think I've gave you before was prices, and the word is precios in Spanish. So if you want to say high prices, precios altos. Low prices, precios bajos. Okay? Next, número cuatro, 4, guapo. What does it go with? Feo. Guapo, good looking, feo, ugly. Guapo, feo. Guapo, feo. And this combination where you have ni and ni again with an adjective attached twice is how you say neither nor. Ni gordo ni delgado, neither fat nor slim. Ni alto ni bajo, neither tall nor short. So that's quite a useful little thing to know, isn't it? Ni gordo ni delgado. No soy ni gordo ni delgado. I'm neither fat nor slim. No soy ni alto ni bajo. I'm neither tall nor short. Ni alto ni bajo. Okay? So ni, neither nor. Muy bien. Moving on. So we saw this word actividad earlier for activity, and I said to you that the dad ending is a classic feminine noun ending. So without even knowing anything about that word, you see dad on the end, you know it's a feminine word. A similar sort of way of identifying a feminine noun is words that end with ion, like this, I-O with an accent N. And we saw in the last episode, una canción. Remember, cantar is to sing, to chant. Do you remember that? To sing is cantar. And a canción is a song. Una canción. So we've now really got 3 classic feminine endings. And if you can remember those 3 things, you've got a good chance of identifying whether a noun is masculine or feminine. So the 3 ways are, if the noun ends with an A, like abuela, it's probably feminine. If the noun ends with ion, it's probably feminine. And if the noun ends with dad, dad, it's feminine. Why does it matter? Because several things actually. One is, if you want to say whatever it is, you've got to know whether you're going to use un or una. And if it's feminine, it's una. If it's masculine, it's un. Okay, so a grandfather, un abuelo. A grandmother, una abuela, una. A song, we know it's feminine because we've just seen, or I've just told you, that ion endings are feminine. So we know it's una canción for a song, not un canción. Una canción. And also, we might have to adjust the describing word, the adjective, to be feminine as well. Not always, but where you've got adjectives that can end with either an O or an A, if it's a feminine thing we're describing, you have to opt for the A ending. Okay? So a fun and funny song will be una canción, a song, divertida y graciosa. A ending on these verbs, on these adjectives, not the O form, gracioso and divertido. So, look at all these lovely words that end with either ion, which is the top half, or dad. And they're really nice words, these, because they're easy, in the main, easy to identify the meaning of, because they're very like our ION type words in English, aren't they? So creación, creation. Vacación or vacación is vacation or holiday. región, region, and so on. Okay. I will at this stage, and so looking at these words, you've never seen them before, but you know now that these are going to be feminine nouns, okay? Because they end with ion. Two that I'm going to highlight to you because they're quite common is particularly the word habitación, habitation, okay? Gives you a little bit of a clue. But una habitación is a room in a house in a general sense, okay? Habitación. Avión, I'm highlighting that and I've bolded it in red because, as is always the case, there's exceptions. And avión means plane. If you know French, you'll know avion for a plane in French, so very similar. Avión, plane. Think about maybe aviation as well. It's obviously linked to that word, isn't it? Avión. Okay, that happens to be an ion word that is masculine, but there aren't many. Finally, just to highlight a couple of meanings, more subtle meanings, formación could mean formation, but actually it's the word for training in Spanish. So formación profesional, for example, is how they say vocational training. So if you want to be a plumber or a chef or a hairdresser, you will do formación profesional. A ración means a ration of something, as in food. We might use it to talk about, say, for example, una ración de pizza, a ration of pizza, or maybe more naturally, a slice of pizza. So, una ración de tarta, a portion of cake or a slice of cake type of thing. Una ración. Educación, education, and so on. Dad endings at the bottom. So I told you that the word for trying to think of the example that I gave you now, which I can't, but if we take any one of these, oportunidad, the dad ending is very similar to ty in English. So strip the dad off the end and put ty on it. You've got opportunity. Capacidad, capacity. Posibilidad, possibility, and so on. Cantidad, quantity. Cualidad, quality, and so on. The dad ending is also feminine, so we know that all of these words are feminine. Okay, Navidad is a bit of a special case. It should really have a capital because Navidad is Christmas. And even though it doesn't work brilliantly, if you think navity, it might remind you of nativity and the nativity scene at Christmas with Mary and Joseph and the stable scene and the three wise men and all that stuff. So Navidad is Christmas in Spanish. Navidad, Christmas. Ciudad, can you guess the meaning of that word? It's an important one. Again, it doesn't work perfectly switching the ty in, but it's a very good guesstimate approximation. So think about ciuti. Ciuti. Ciudad is actually the word for city or town in Spanish. Ciudad, and it's feminine. It's got a dad ending. Ciudad. Durabilidad, durability, and so on. So, just to wrap up and summarize gender rules, the simplest way you can approach this is when you look at a noun in Spanish, ask yourself, does it have a classic feminine ending? Does it end with a? Does it end with ion? Or does it end with dad? And if it ends with any of those three words, it would be reasonably safe to assume that it is a feminine word. And as I've written here, just to treat all other things as masculine. If you want to take it a little bit further than that, you could look at the classic masculine endings as well. O, abuelo, grandfather. O is a typical masculine ending in Spanish of a noun. So is E. Most words that end in E are masculine. And any consonant, so that's letters that are not the vowels, which is the vowels are A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U are the vowels. Treat everything else as a consonant. So generally speaking, words that end in a consonant are masculine, and the exceptions will be these two three-letter endings, ion and dad, which are feminine, as we've seen. So a little bit of extra information at this point, brand new stuff, is how you say the in Spanish. Excuse me. You've got, remember our two words up here for or an. Un, una. If the noun is masculine, it's un. If the noun is feminine, it's una. And similarly, if you want to say the whatever it is, if the noun is masculine, it's el. If it's feminine, it's la. It's easy if you're reasonably familiar with French to remember the French le and la and get confused. It's el and la in Spanish, not le and la. El is your masculine the, la is your feminine the. So just now, time for you to pause me and stop listening to me rambling on. And just very quickly, looking at these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of 3 words, can you pick out the odd one out? And the clue here is to maybe look for the feminine endings and decide from there which one is the one that doesn't fit with the other two. Okay? Might be best to just do the first one together to check we're on the right kind of track here. So all we're doing at this stage is asking ourselves, out of these 3 words, ciudad or ciudad, tarjeta and hermano, without even worrying about the meaning of these words, which is the odd one out in that top row? Ciudad, tarjeta, hermano. And the answer to that question is going to be hermano. And that is the word for brother, hermano. Why is it the odd one out? Well, it's an odd one out because the other 2 are feminine. Remember, dad, feminine ending. A, the letter A, feminine ending. This one is not feminine. It doesn't end with a, it doesn't end with dad, and it doesn't end with ion. Therefore, we could guess that it is masculine. And furthermore, it's got the classic O ending for masculine things as well, hermano. Okay? So, pause me. Go through the remaining 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Which is the odd one out? Pause me, come back, we will correct. Muy bien. Very good. So, odd one out. Habitación, mensaje, Navidad. The answer is mensaje because the other 2 have got classic feminine endings and tell you that they are feminine. Ion and dad. So, habitación, habitation, the word for a room in Spanish. Navidad, nativity, the word for Christmas in Spanish. Mensaje, message, the word for a message. Does it end with a classic feminine ending? No. It doesn't end with a, it doesn't end with ion, it doesn't end with dad. Therefore, it's a fair bet that it's masculine, and it is mensaje. And just a reminder, going back, masculine classics are o, the letter O, and e, and any consonant. So this fits perfectly, doesn't it? Okay, because mensaje, message, ends with an e. So, ooh, there we go. Next one, sol, gorra, comida. Okay, which is the odd one out? The word sol, because very obviously the other 2 end with an A, which tells you they're feminine. Sol does not end with a feminine ending at all. In fact, it ends with a consonant, the letter L, which was the other way, or one of the other ways that I said of identifying masculine nouns. So, sol, gorra, comida. Odd one out is sol. What does it mean? Think solar. Sol is our word for sun. Gorra, I haven't got it to hand today, but a gorra is a cap or a hat. Gorra, feminine. Comida. So comer, the verb is to eat. Comer, to eat. Comida is sort of linked to that. It's the word for food, okay, which we now know is feminine in Spanish. Abuelo, canción, viento. Odd one out. Ready for it? Canción. Because the other two actually are masculine. Canción is a feminine ending, as we know, I-O-N, the word for a song. And then these two both end with non-feminine O endings. Viento, abuelo. Abuelo, grandfather. Viento, weather expression. Can you remember what type of weather viento or viento is? Take the I out. You've got vent, vento. Think about airflow, ventilation. It's wind, viento. If I want to say it is windy, as in today, hace viento. Next. Padre, oportunidad, hermana. Odd one out is going to be padre, because oportunidad, dad, feminine ending, hermana, a, the letter A, feminine ending, padre, not so much. This has got an E on the end, which is one of the classic ways of remembering something's masculine. Not always, because there are quite a few exceptions to the E rule for masculine. But padre, father. Padre, father. Oportunidad, opportunity. Hermana, sister. Okay, so before we leave this slide, and we are at kind of 21 minutes, and I wanted to make this a slightly shorter video today. We now know which of these options at the top to choose, because once we know whether something's masculine or feminine, we know which word to select for a or the. So I will say something in English, you tell me how you think you're going to say it in Spanish. Okay, so I'm going to select a word. We'll start with the word for, I'll go down the rows in order, so you know that the word that I'm asking you for will be from the first row this time. So how would you say the city? The city. Is it un, una, el or la for the? Okay, so if you said la ciudad, you would be correct, because ciudad is feminine, it's got a dad ending. You've got two choices for the word the in Spanish, el and la. El is the masculine one, la is the feminine one. So in this case, it is la ciudad, the city. Next one, we're moving to row 2 now. How are you going to say the message? The message, not a message, but the message. So if you said el mensaje, you would be correct. Mensaje it's masculine, okay? It hasn't got a feminine ending. It doesn't end with yon here. It doesn't end with dad. It doesn't end with an A. Therefore, pretty certain that it's masculine. It will be the masculine the, el mensaje, the message. If you want to say a message, it's going to be the masculine a, un mensaje, un mensaje. Moving to the third row, how would you say a cap or a hat? A cap, a hat. Going to be una gorra, a hat or a cap. The hat will be la gorra. Line or row number 4, cuatro. How are you going to say a song? A song. It will be una canción. Una canción. Una canción. Row number 5, cinco. You've got Okay, so we've got 3 words. How are you going to say a father? A father. A father. It's going to be un padre. Un padre. The father will be el padre, because it's a masculine word, this. So hopefully you're getting a flavour of how we can identify genders, which is going to help us a lot moving forward. Lastly, because I'm just on 25, as an extra challenge, how would we make these words plural in Spanish? And I'm not sure we've covered this, I can't remember, but there's really only 2 things you have to worry about when you make something plural. In other words, when we're talking about more than one thing, 2 or more. And that is, you either just add a straight S to the word, like we do in English. So, for example, tarjeta here is the word for a card, as in a credit card, tarjeta de crédito, or a birthday card, a tarjeta de cumpleaños. And if you want to say not card but cards, you just add an S to that word, tarjetas. Easy. The word for a message is a mensaje. If you want to say messages, it's mensajes. So rule number 1 for pluralizing things is if the word ends with a vowel, you just add S. So words that end in A, E, I, O and U, you just add an S. Okay? Tarjetas, mensajes, hermanos for brothers, etc. So the only other thing you need to worry about is all the other words that end with a consonant. Okay, so the letter that isn't a vowel. So let's choose one randomly. So let's have a look at the word for song here, canción. Okay, ends with a consonant. It doesn't end with a vowel. In that case, you have to add ES. So the word for songs in Spanish is canciones. Canciones. So we'll just practice a couple of those. So if I wanted to say rooms in Spanish, how's that going to sound? Rooms. And the word is in row número dos. The word for rooms is in row número dos. Okay, so the word is habitación. It ends with a consonant, therefore it is habitaciones, with an ES added to make it plural. Rooms, habitaciones. How would you say grandfathers in Spanish? It's going to be abuelos, plain and simple. Look, the word ends with a vowel, just add an S, abuelos. How are you going to say opportunities in Spanish? It's going to be oportunidades with the ES. Look, that word ends with a consonant, ES, oportunidades. Okay? In Spanish, if I want to say how do you say in Spanish, rather than keep doing it in English, I will say como se dice, como se dice, como se dice. Entonces, so, como se dice brothers? Hermanos, just add an S. Como se dice, excuse me, como se dice cities or towns en español? Como se dice en español cities or towns? It is ciudades, ES on the end. Look, it's got a consonant, D, ES for pluralizing it. Ciudades. Como se dice cities or towns? Ciudades. Como se dice foods? Foods. Okay. The word is comida, food. Comidas, foods or dishes. How would you say, como se dice en español, sisters? it's going to be hermanas. Hermanas. Just add an S. It ends with an A vowel. Just add S to make it plural. Next one. How would you say songs? The word is canción, song. Songs, canciones. Okay, and so on. So, that's enough for today. We're on the 30-minute mark, 30 minutos. Entonces, so, hasta luego. Hasta la próxima vez. Adiós.